this video, I'm going to share with you the essence of education for life, the key point that around which everything else builds. It has to do with the concept of maturity. We often ask, well, what's the purpose of education? What's the purpose of life? And this will take us on a little bit of a journey that I hope is helpful for you. This comes from the 4th chapter of the book, Education for Life, that we're going through. And the chapter title is How Progressive Really Is Progressive. We all want to be progressive. We all want to be moving forward. But sometimes we can get caught in blind alleys. And here's a different approach. It is axiomatic, surely, that our children's upbringing ought to be progressive, in the sense of leading them somewhere. Where, then, should it lead? Leaving abstractions aside, isn't the simple, obvious, most basic answer this: to lead them from immaturity to maturity? Isn't the attainment of maturity what growing up is really all about? If so, then, it becomes necessary to ask ourselves, what is maturity? For an answer, let me offer you another law, the maturity principle. Maturity is the ability to relate appropriately to realities other than one's own. So I'm going to start with a very dramatic example of trying to relate to other people's realities. As I've talked in different other videos, one of the key things we do with teenagers is we're trying to expand their scope, their experience of life. Teenagers easily get bored with whatever situation they have grown up in by the time they're 14, 15 years old. So we go on service adventures. So this one turned into a very special one. I brought this group, it was a group of girls, I brought them to Italy. And when I got here, it was a little hard because people didn't have a clear understanding, or at least I couldn't communicate what I was looking for in the terms of service. But we finally, someone said, oh, well, there's some people that need help about 50 miles from here. It turned out it was a refugee camp. It was a refugee camp because there was a war going on across the Adriatic Sea at that time in a place called Kosovo. And so some of the people who had escaped there because of the fighting that was going on were actually being housed there, and they needed help with cooking and cleaning. And also these people from Kosovo, they didn't speak Italian. We were in Italy. But they did speak English, so they were especially looking for people who could communicate with them in English. So I took my girls over there and we jumped in and we just started doing whatever needed to be done. But this one night, we were sitting at the dinner table, and there was 4 or 5 of the girls and myself sitting on one side of the table. On the other side were some people from Kosovo. And we were talking, and two people got in a very heated discussion. This one man, he obviously had been through a very difficult experience, and he was so angry with the Serbs. And he looked at his friend there, and he said, right in front of us, he says, the Serbs are a devil race. He said, we need to go back there, and we need to arm ourselves and kill every single one of them. And the friend looked at him, and he said, Boris, the Serbs are no different than us. They're people just like we are. He said, what's happening is they're following bad leaders. What we need to do is go back and help them understand that there's a different way to approach life. And I was watching this happen in front of us, and I'm thinking of my teenage girls that are sitting here observing this, and I thought, what an incredible opportunity to see life in a very dramatic way about how different people can approach life. And some people see it in a very narrow way, and other people are able to have a much broader way. So for them, I thought this is the essence of what I'm trying to do with them, trying to help them see things in a broad way and to appreciate different people's perspectives. So, of course, those are experiences you can't, that was $1 million curriculum lesson project that I could never duplicate on it. But it's, again, it just shows the direction that we're trying to work with the children, always looking for ways to, how can we help them expand their perceptions, expand their realities, even down to very simplest things. I was visiting a school the other day, and this was young children, and there were children, there were a couple of the children who were very naturally inclined to service, and then it was lunchtime, and so these two children jumped up and they were wanting to help serve the food to their classmates, and that was certainly admirable in itself. But then as they were going around, I thought there was another perspective, because when they gave the food to the other children, people just took it and started eating. And so I talked to the teachers afterward. I said, we could take this one more step further, because the children who received the food, if they just said thank you, if they just simply said thank you, it would open up this channel that they would also be thinking of the people that are serving them, rather than just getting the food and just being focused on eating. So the teachers, of course, easily saw that and started doing it. So if you're working with children, there's many, many opportunities that come up where you can just stop and draw their attention to something that's in front of them that maybe they're not completely aware of, but they can expand. We were in the playground a couple days ago, and one of the boys who has a very strong affinity with insects, he brought in, he found in English we call it a praying mantis. And it's this little green insect that looks like it's praying. It looks like it has its hands folded, and it's pretty big like this. And so the children were all excited, just to see this insect. And what I was talking about, I said, well, let's just calm down. And if you calm down, he'll actually walk on you. He'll walk on your hand. He'll walk up your arm. So they started to get calm, and they started doing that and saying, just look at it from the perspective of the insect. If we're all nervous and excited, he's going to be afraid. But if we can get calm, he can get calm, and then we'll be able to experience it in a deeper way. So there are thousands of opportunities like that for a teacher who's aware of this. The teacher has to be aware of the dimension. How can we expand the consciousness so children can relate to other realities, and then just taking advantage of those opportunities as they come up in life.